This video is sponsored by Disney Collect by Topps, where there is an absolute massive variety of beautifully designed cards that showcase over 90 years of Disney and Pixar animation history, with new collections being added all the time. So download the free app for iOS and Android today with the link in the description box below. Hi there Waltineers, I'm Jack and this is DSNY Newscast, and now that D23 EXPO has come to a close for another 2 years, we're now left dealing with the aftermath of what was and what was not announced at the Disney Parks presentation on Sunday. And interestingly for Walt Disney World, it was less about announcing big new projects that are yet to be built in the next 4 or 5 years, but instead it was more focused on the existing projects that we know about and the time frame of them opening within the next year. And so with all that being said, let's discuss all of that. Starting with the attraction project that has seemingly been under construction for longer than time itself. And that is of course the TRON Lightcycle Run roller coaster at the Magic Kingdom. And well, we have finally received an opening, but not a date, but instead a time period for this ride, with it being announced that it will be opening in spring of 2023. And to be totally honest with you, this was my biggest disappointment from the entire presentation, as with this attraction's progress throughout the summer keeping pace with the construction of the original version of this attraction over at Shanghai Disneyland in 2016, it means that it could have more than realistically opened late this year in 2022 if Disney had wanted it to. But the reason why this is all the more frustrating is because Disney has been touting very publicly in Disney Parks blog articles and on social media and even on stage at the event itself with Josh D'Amaro's video, showing us all that the ride is clearly within the final stage of a test and adjust period, with people actually testing the ride experience. And so for TRON not to open for yet another 6 months, it clearly shows that this was more of a marketing decision than a construction or logistical delay, as spring 2023 is also when the 50th anniversary celebration of Walt Disney World is to come to an end on March 31st. Therefore, it's likely that the strategy behind delaying this is actually probably more to do with Disney wanting to save TRON as their big new attraction addition in 2023 for advertising and marketing purposes, whilst also possibly opening it at the very end of the 18-month-long 50th celebration, so that it then can technically open within the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World, as was originally stated all the way back in 2017 when it was announced. And even though all of that does make sense from a business perspective, I do think that this attraction may have trouble living up to the hype, as such a long build time with even more delays, it's sure to start to exacerbate the guest interest in the ride, which will only be compounded when people realise the size limitation of the light cycles not being able to accommodate guests of all sizes, and the on-ride experience only being around 90 seconds long. Although with all that being said, at least at long last we have an opening time frame of spring of 2023. But that's not the only thing that was announced to be coming to Magic Kingdom next year, as it was also announced that Happily Ever After will be returning to the Magic Kingdom next year. But there is a caveat to this announcement, as Disney were careful to word the announcement as the popular anthem Happily Ever After will play again when an updated nighttime spectacular returns. So that's confirmation that the song is returning, but it will not be the entire show as we knew it before. And because it was not specified which show is the updated nighttime spectacular that they are referring to, what this is likely to be is an amalgamation of elements of both Enchantment and Happily Ever After blended together for a completely new show, as part of the 100 Years of Wonder celebration. As Happily Ever After didn't have the technical show upgrades of the Main Street USA projections and the more recent animated features from 2017 onwards like what we've seen in Enchantment. So perhaps we'll see Frozen 2, Coco, Soul, Luca and Encanto all represented within the new show as well, with the overall story and style of the show being very reminiscent of Happily Ever After. Then also sticking with the Magic Kingdom, coming next year in 2023, there's going to be one more happy haunt added to the Haunted Mansion, with the arrival of the Hatbox Ghost animatronic. Now, this has been a long-rumoured project that I've covered numerous times since 2017 as being part of the original plans for the updates to classic attractions for the 50th anniversary. And now that we've seen the updates to Carousel of Progress's final scene, the People Mover get a refurbishment, and now the Haunted Mansion, hopefully we'll also see Big Thunder Mountain receive the special effects at some point in the next year or two as well. Although what I will say about the Haunted Mansion is that depending on the positioning of this Hatbox Ghost animatronic, if it is within the attic scene, maybe we'll see a few extra changes to accompany it into the attraction. Then moving over to EPCOT, we also received official confirmation that Harmonious will be replaced with an all-new nighttime spectacular later in 2023, marking the 100 Years of Wonder celebration. Now this is extremely interesting, as when Harmonious debuted, this was not intended to just be for the duration of the 50th anniversary celebration, but instead it was meant to stick around long afterwards as the permanent replacement to Illuminations. But clearly, given the mixed guest satisfaction with the show, the content and the viewing angles, and not to mention the unsightly barges permanently anchored in the World Showcase Lagoon during the daytime, Disney has now made the decision to move quickly to replace this show. As after all, when EPCOT underperforms to attract guests at nighttime, it not only affects that park's revenue, it has a ripple effect on the revenue of the restaurants around World Showcase, the bookable event space revenue, and creates a capacity problem at other restaurants within the resort and the other parks as well. So despite not knowing what the official replacement will be called, we have heard rumblings from the insiders on the WDW Magic forums that the new show is extremely promising and should create something befitting of EPCOT's nighttime legacy. And thankfully we should also expect that the barges will begin to be removed after March 31st, 2023, as it's likely that EPCOT Forever will be returning as an interim show throughout the summer, whilst preparations are made and finalised for a full debut of the new nighttime show for the 100th anniversary of the Walt Disney Company. And speaking of late 2023, it was also announced that the Journey of Water inspired by Moana walk-through experience as part of World Nature and the Communicore Hall and Plaza along with the rest of the World Celebration neighbourhood is all scheduled to open in late 2023. Now, much like the TRON opening date, this is also surprising, as the construction work on the Moana walk-through is now into the themed construction phase, which realistically means that if Disney would like to open this element sooner, then they most likely could. But it's probably awaiting the rest of the World Celebration and Central revamp to be complete before it can then open in the second half of 2023. And that actually directly plays into the last confirmed 2023 Walt Disney World edition that was announced at D23 EXPO, as Figment will be returning as a greetable character in EPCOT, but in late 2023. And what's odd about this is that it could be over a year before we see Figment arrive in EPCOT, as you'd think that with Festival of the Arts in January, it would be the better time to reintroduce this beloved character. However, it may be for two reasons, the first being because of the location, as at the moment Mickey is located at the Magic Eye Theatre to the side of the Imagination Pavilion. But once the new Mickey and Friends location opens within the Communicore Hall building in late 2023, then that will mean that the Magic Eye Theatre will be available once again. And then so, the second reason for the delay is that this may not be the traditional character iteration that we saw from years ago, but instead it's possible that this may need a permanent internal location inside the Magic Eye Theatre, as it might be using the implementation of the Project Tiny projection-based interactive meet and greet that we saw playtested at Disneyland in 2021, or perhaps it will be the first integration of the massive advancements made with Disney Research and Development's Project Kiwi to debut in an in-park environment. And so in many ways, D23 EXPO this year for Walt Disney World was more about making announcements for 2023 than it was about announcing big projects that won't open for another 4 or 5 years. But now it's over to you, Waltineers. I would like to know first of all, what were your overall impression of D23 EXPO this year, and also what are you most looking forward to in 2023 that was announced at the Expo, and also what what project were you most looking forward to that wasn't announced at D23 EXPO that you are still waiting on? And despite D23 EXPO being underwhelming, if you've enjoyed all of the coverage here on the channel, then be sure to give this video a massive thumbs up, subscribe down below, and with all of that being said, I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.